War of the Worlds is a science fiction film directed by Steven Spielberg and adapted by David Koepp. In 2005, it was released in cinemas worldwide as a transposition of the similarly titled and famous 1897 H. G. Wells novel, first serialized by Pearson's Magazine and by Cosmopolitan Magazine. The novel is Wells' most famous one, and it is considered as one of the first in its genre. Herbert George Wells was born on the 21st of September 1866 in Bromley, England. He wrote some of the most famous science fiction works, and he is known as a pioneer of this genre, the father of science fiction, together with Jules Verne and Hugo Gernsback. Wells was a prolific writer in many genres, like contemporary narrative, history, and social critics. Most importantly, he was forward-looking in writing a series of utopic novels, anticipating prophetically some technological innovations, like aircraft, tanks, space travels, nuclear weapons, satellite television, and something similar to the World Wide Web. Influenced by Washington Irving, Charles Dickens, Jonathan Swift, and Voltaire, in 1890, Wells graduated with honors in zoology and biology. From 1891, he taught biology in the University Correspondence College. His stories are influenced by technical observations which made them in a way scientific. His novels are characterized by utopic narration with a strong didascalic and intellectual style. The main themes are adventure and evasion, with no specific ideologic or speculative scheme. In 1998, War of the Worlds won the Locus Award as the 28th prior 1990 Best Novel. Ray Ferrier is a divorced port operator in New Jersey, father of Rachel and Robbie, who he meets only one weekend per month. One of these weekends, a heavy cloud occurs during which lightning strikes multiple times that disrupt all technology and electricity. Worried for his children, Ray reached the city center where people gathered trying to understand what was happening. Suddenly, the ground started shaking and breaking, and a huge extraterrestrial machine came up. People were scared at its sight, and the machine started killing them with a laser, destroying everything. Ray managed to run and come back home, to pick up his kids and run away with them. He stole a van recently repaired, full of food and supplies, and reached his ex-wife's house with Rachel and Robbie. But there was no one there, so they decided to stay for the night, during which explosions were heard repeatedly. The following morning, a reporter informed him that other machines had came up from the ground, and they had invaded other cities. She showed him a video showing that a capsule had been left getting down into the underground. This made them believing that the alien attack had already been planned for millennials. Ray and his kids tried to reach Boston as fast as they could, but a crowd of desperate people stopped them to steal the car with their supply. Forced to leave the van, the group of three followed their way by feet. After witnessing a clash between the local army and the Martians, they realized that weapons had no effect on the Martians, because the machines are protected by an invisible shield. Robbie started fighting with the army, and Rachel and Ray are taken by the Martians. Imprisoned in a tripod with other humans, he used some grenades to destroy the tripod from the inside, causing its explosion and freeing them all. The shield was then destroyed and the invaders were defeated worldwide. Ray and Rachel reach their grandparents in Boston, where Robbie, alive, is waiting for them with his ex-wife. The first noticeable difference between the book and the film is in the main character. In the film, Ray is a divorced port worker with 2 children to take care of, who has to deal with the daily challenges of his life. Instead, in the book, the story is narrated by an unnamed character, whom we only know is a quite famous writer. For the adaptation, Spielberg asks his screenwriters to keep the initial idea, that is the story of the alien attack, and to ignore old-fashioned details. The screenwriters decide to introduce an external narrator at the beginning and the end of the film, as a narrative thread of the story. The main difference between the film and the book is its setting, since the film is set more than a century after the book. For this reason, the screenwriters adopt specific solutions. In the modern era, the characters must survive and react in a world with no energy or means of communications, like they are in the 18th century. At the end, differences are more emphasized compared to the novel. In the novel, the main character narrator decides to take his life running against the machines. But he finds out that the Martians are killed by the human bacteria that terrestrial people are immune to. Man can populate again their world, and the climate comes back to its normality. The writer comes back home, where surprisingly there is his wife he believed to be dead. In the film, there is no mention of the Martians coming by spacecraft. In the novel, the Martians arrive by huge metal tripod cylinders. In the film, both the director and the screenwriters changed this element with something more innovative. Another major difference has been the decision of avoiding repetitive and typical cinematographic scenes, such as the Martians' destruction of historic monuments. I choose to analyze this film after reading the book War of the Worlds, that amazed me and made me love the science fiction genre even more. The incredibly precise descriptions of the events, the attention to details, and the fluidity of the story are the key aspects for a linear and pleasant reading of the novel, and help the reader imagine the fictional image of the Martians. Together with the story, I loved how some themes are put together: science fiction and family, resilience and survival, to give life to a both extraterrestrial and human story. There is a father who fights to save his children, despite the situation seems not to give hope for their survival. In this film, where there's life, there's hope, and love for life and for the self, is the perfect frame of a terrific story. A story, both written and filmed, that tells us we are not alone in this world, and we must respect it and enjoy it. But most importantly, we should never forget that man is incredibly tiny compared to the universe he lives in. Thank you.